कस्तूरी तिलकं ललाटपटले वक्षस्थले कौस्तुभं नासाग्रे वर्मौक्तिकं करतले वेणुकरे कङ्कणम् सर्वाङ्गे हरिचन्दनं सुललितम् कंठे च मुक्तावली गोपास्त्री परिवेष्टितो विजयते गोपाल चूरामणि वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंस चाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran, and we have completed 50 chapters in Canto 10. Canto 10 has 90 chapters, and we are in the 51st chapter today, which is about the story of King Muchukund. Very fascinating and interesting story, how Kal Yavan was slayed and Muchukund king who was sleeping, how he was awakened. That very exciting episode we will go through. This is in context of Sri Krishna being attacked by Jarasandh, and Jarasandh is hell-bent on defeating Krishna, little realizing that he is pitted against the cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality who is invincible, who is beyond anyone's reach. But we will come across all these leelas. So we will read these texts. But before that, we will start the session with a bhajan. Radhe Radhe. So let's wait for the display for the bhajan. And it will be, I think, before, yes. So, Shri Vrindavan Chand Hamaro. I'll sing 2 paragraphs, 2 stanzas, and I'll request Vijay Bhaiya, Anjan Bhaiya to also sing. So let's participate in this singing. Shri Vrindavan Chand Hamaro. 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 Sad Ghana Chid Ghana आनंद घन सोई सद घन चिद घन आनंद जोई बन्यो सोई नंद नंद हमारो बन्यो सोई नंद नंद हमारो श्री वृंदावन चंद हमारो परमात्मा की परम आत्मा परमात्मा की परम आत्मा राधा कह श्रुति छंद हमारो राधा कह श्रुति छंद हमारो श्री वृंदावन चंद हमारो युगल एक रस रस बरसावत युगल एक रस रस बरसावत सारस रास आनंद हमारो सरस आस सरस रास आनंद हमारो श्री वृंदावन चंद हमारो श्री वृंदावन चंद हमारो। अनजान भैया।
श्री वृंदावन चंद हमारो वृंदावन निधिवन गह गहर बन वृंदावन निधिवन गह बरबन विहरत आनंद कंद हमारो विहरत आनंद कंद हमारो श्री वृंदावन चंद हमारो फिरत कृपालु शंभु से जिनके फिरत कृपालु शंभु से जिनके परे थे प्रेम के कंद हमारो परेठ प्रेम के कंद हमारो कंद हमारो श्री
श्री वृंदावन चंद हमारो, राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे, राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे, राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे, राधे राधे
गोविंद गोविंद
राधे,
राधे,
हरे राम
हरे
राम राम
राम
राम,
राम
हरे
हरे
हरे हरे कृष्ण
हरे
कृष्ण
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 कृष्ण,
कृष्ण
हरे
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 हरे राम
राम
हरे
हरे
राम
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 राम,
राम
हरे
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 कृष्ण
कृष्ण
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
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 हरे
हरे
हरे,
हरे
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 राम
राम
हरे
हरे
राम
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 हरे
हरे
हरे,
हरे
हरे कृष्ण
कृष्ण
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
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 हरे
हरे
हरे, श्री वृंदावन चंद हमारो, चंद हमारो, चंद हमारो। श्रीमद सदगुरु सरकार की जय, श्रीमद युगल सरकार की जय,
जय
जय जय श्री राधे,
राधे
जय जय श्री
जय
राधे,
राधे
जय जय श्री
जय
राधे।
राधे।
Our koti koti pranam to the lotus feet of Sri Hari and Sri Guru. Our koti koti pranam to Swami Mukundanand ji. My humble pranam to each one of you. And now let us read from the chapter 51 from Canto 10, Bhagavad Mahapuran. The episode King Muchukund liberated, Kaliyavan slayed. Shukdev ji resumes, when Lord Krishna came out of the city gate of Mathura, Kaliyavan saw Krishna like the moon rising on the eastern horizon, with his effulgent dark form resplendent with the shining pitambari, the Srivats and the Kaustubh gem glittering. Bearing his four strong Chaturbhus, eyes red like a fresh lotus, blissful persona, with a radiant smile, cheeks reflecting the Makar Kundal earrings, remembering Narad Muni's descriptions, Kal Yavan concluded that this is the same Vasudev Nandan Krishna, the only one capable of a match to my own strength. Thus resolved, Kal Yavan saw that Krishna was on foot and not carrying any arms, so he too then dismounted from his chariot, running towards Krishna, discarding his own weapons so that the fight would then be on equal footing. Running behind and trying to catch the Lord, Kal Yavan was attempting what accomplished rishis, munis, sages keep yearning for and still remain unsuccessful. In verse 1051-6, Shukdev ji says, इति निश्चितयः यवनः प्राद्रवद्तं पराङ्मुखम् अन्वधावजिदृक्षुस्तं दुरापमपि योगिनाम्. The Yavan pursued him with intent to overtake him while he was running fast with his back turned against him, although he is not within reach even of those adept in yoga. So Kal Yavan is thinking that let him come on the equal footing, and he dismounts the horse, he throws away all the weapons, He doesn't realize what is in store for him. So let's read what happens next. Krishna had by now steered far away from the city with Kalyavan too running and following very close. Just staying within Kalyavan's reach but out of grasp, Krishna lured Kalyavan far away to a mountain. The gasping Kalyavan reproached Krishna, saying, "It does not suit you, O Yaduvanshi, to take flight avoiding the enemy, but rather you should face the enemy." Kalyavan's karmas prevented him from touching Krishna, who was so close and yet so far. Ignoring Kalyavan's taunts, Krishna entered deep into a cave in the mountain, followed by Kalyavan. Inside the dark cave, Kalyavan saw the silhouette of a person sleeping on the floor. And assuming it to be Krishna, he thought, "Just see here, leading me here on a chase. Now he sleeps here innocently like a saint." Thinking like this, Kalyavan then kicked the sleeping person with his foot, waking him up. The person who woke up after a very long sleep from past yugas looked around angrily for being woken up so rudely and beheld Kalyavan standing by his side. When the person's look and gaze fell on Kalyavan, he was instantly burnt and reduced to ashes. O Parikshit, King Parikshit queries, "O Maharaj, who was that person who was sleeping? Which clan was he? What were his abilities?" To which Shukdev Ji Maharaj replies, "Dear Parikshit, the person who was sleeping was the pious, devout King Muchukund, King Mandhata's son of the Ikshwaku dynasty." So this Kalyavan's lineage is, he is the son of Mandhata king. King Mandhata is the famous king of Ayodhya. We have heard about him. He if I recall, he is the one who was attacked by Bhishma Pitama, or I may be mixing. But but the sage Sobhiri also had gone to King Mandata and asked for one of the daughters. King Mandata had 50 daughters. So that King Mandata's son yeah, is Muchukund, and why he is sleeping for such a long time, let's read in the slide number 5. Indradev had asked protection from him earlier, and hence he would fight with the demons on behalf of the Devatas, safeguarding the Devatas. After a long time, when Lord Shiv's son, Gohya Kartikeya, was appointed as the general of the Devatas' army, the Devatas requested Muchukund to cease fighting and relieve Muchukund from his duty of protecting them, and asked him to rest. Appreciating the fact that he had willingly abandoned his opulent kingdom and family only to protect the Devatas, Indradev asked him to ask for a boon. While Muchukund was protecting the Devatas, a lot of time had elapsed with none of Muchukund's relations now left, all now being dead. In verse 10, 51, 19, 20, Indradev explains to Kalyavan that Lord Vishnu alone can liberate. Kalo, Kalo Baliyan कालो बलीयान बलिनां भगवान ईश्वर अव्ययः प्रजा कालयते क्रीडन् पशुपालो यथा पशून् वरं वृष्णिस्व ते ऋते कैवल्यमद्यनः एक एवेश्वरस्तस्य भगवान् विष्णुरव्ययः. The time spirit is mightier than the might, nay, it is the Almighty and immortal Lord Himself. Like a herdsman driving a herd, it sweeps away created beings in mere sport. May good betide you, ask of us today any boon other than liberation for imperishable. Lord Vishnu is the sole authority capable of granting. So Kalyavan is being granted this boon by Indradev because he has safeguarded them. He has sacrificed a lot of his family time and his opulent kingdom, and he has helped the Devatas. So let's see what happens in the next slide. Let me hand over to Anjanji to read.
Muchkund, who was weary and very tired, continuously fighting, asked Indradev for undisturbed rest and sleep in peace. Indradev not only granted Muchkund his desire, but also declared that any being who forcefully awakens Muchkund from his sleep will then be instantly reduced to ashes. And so it was Muchkund who had woken up with Kalyavan's kick. O Pariksit, with Kalyavan dead, Lord Krishna showed himself to Muchkund. Beholding the Lord's gracious, effulgent dark form, resplendent with the sharing pitambari, the Srivats and the Kaustubh gem glittering, and his four strong Chaturbhuj, eyes red like a fresh lotus, blissful persona with a radiant smile, cheeks reflecting the uh, Makar Kundli, wearing a Baijanti Mala, captivating the beholder, eternally youthful, when the gait of a proud lion. The wise Muchkund was overwhelmed with way politely inquired.
And then he was sleeping for a long time. And then he had this boon that he should not be disturbed. And if somebody disturbs him, he will be punished. So let's read number 9. Anyone else wants to read?
Yeah, Bijay Bhai.
O divine personality, be gracious and let me know your identity. Walking on this thorn infested cave with your soft, tender lotus feet, your brilliant, shining effulgence denotes you are Agnidev or then Suryadev or Chandradev or Indradev or then a Lokpal, deity of one of the reason. Verse Muchukund politely asked, Susru Satam Avyalikam Asmakam Nara Pungava Swajanma Karma Gotram Vakatyatam Yadi Rochate. Muchukun submits, may you, O Jewel among men, tell us who are sincerely eager to hear about your birth, doings, or family name, if it pleases you. He continues, I perceive you as the supreme Lord Narayan among the Tridev, as your very presence has driven away the darkness of ages prevalent in this cave, like a lamp drives out darkness. If it pleases you, I would like to blissfully hear the event of your descent, Leela and lineage. O Lord, let me introduce myself as Muchukund, a descendant of Ishwaku clan, son of King Mandhata, staying awake for many years in total fatigue. Sleep had overtaken me, and all my senses had gone numb.
Right. So this is what had been granted to him, that uh, if somebody awakens him, he will be punished, and he gives his introduction about his lineage, that he comes from the lineage of Ikchwaku, uh, who is the ancestors of Lord Ram, and Ikchwaku's son is Mandhata, and Mandhata's son is Kalyavan. You may remember Bhagavad Gita Shlok number 1, chapter 4. Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Abhyayam Vivaswan Manave Praha Manur Ikchwake Bravita. So in chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita, in the verse number 1, Sri Krishna says, O Arjun, I have spoken this knowledge to Sun God millions of years ago. So Sun God is also called Vivaswan. And Vivaswan had passed on this knowledge to his son Manu. And Manu had passed on the knowledge to his son Ikchwaku. So Ikchwaku is the Suryavanshi, and in that Suryavansh, Sri Ram has taken birth, because Vivaswan is the sun god. So that's the connection of the Suryavanshi. Whereas Sri Krishna comes in Chandravansh because the ancestor was Som, the moon god. So That is the background of Kalyavan. Now let's see what happens in the next episode. Anyone else? Vijay Bhaiya, you want to read again?
Hema Didi, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hema Didi. Please unmute.
Radhe, I forgot to unmute.
Yeah.
11. I was resting in deep sleep in the cave undisturbed until now, when someone came and rudely woke me up, and probably that person's own sin then burnt him to ashes. And then after that, O glorious Supreme Lord, now I am beholding your divine form with my grateful eyes. O Lord, your sheer effulgence is so bright that I am unable to even gaze at it continuously for a long time. Shukdevji says, Oh Parikshit, hearing Muchukund's Krishna then smiled and said in a deep, rumbling voice, Oh dear Muchukund, I have infinite births, names, forms, leelas, which cannot be counted even by me. The impossible act of counting the dust particles on the surface of earth may become possible, but to fathom and count my manifestations, name, form, Leela, will remain impossible. 12. O King, accomplished rishis, sages, Sananand, etc., keep singing my glories continuously with no end. Still, let me tell you about this present manifestation of mine. First, Brahmaji approached me and prayed to me to protect Dharma and reduce the burdens of sins committed by Adharma on earth. Accepting his prayers, I have taken this human form and descended in the Yadu dynasty, and being Ananda. Need help with pronunciation, please?
Anak Dundubi's son.
Anak Dundubi's son. I am also called as Vasudev. Demon Kalyani, taking the form of King Kans, has already been slayed by me, along with many other asuras like Pralam, etc., who were troubling the pious devotees. Radhe Radhe.
Right. So first, Kalyavan has spoken about his lineage, and then Krishna describes himself that he is the son of Anak Dundubi. Anak Dundubi is the name of Krishna's father, who is also called Vasudev. When Vasudev was born, what the scriptures tell us that in the heavenly kingdom, the musical instruments started sounding to celebrate his birth. So that is why he is also called Anak Dundubi, which means that particular event. So now let me read number 13. This Yavan too burned to ashes, and yeah. This Yavan to burn to ashes was ordained to be presented in front of you so as to burn with your first sight after sleep, which is done for me through you. And pleased as I am with your immense devotion from the past, hence, as my grace to you, I have come to this cave, my dear devotee, only for you to behold me. Go ahead, O king, you may ask me any boon that you desire, as with my grace, then everything is achieved and granted for my devotees. Nothing should be left incomplete or wanting for my devotee who seek my protection. Hearing the Lord's words, Muchukund then recalled what the senior Garga Muni had predicted to him in the past, that the Supreme Lord would manifest as a Yaduvanshi and he would get the rare and unique privilege to behold him. Muchukund replies, O Lord, all the souls in creation acting under your powerful Maya forget their real self and do not remember you. So, in the episode of Muchukund, King Muchukund, there are many very important references, and Maharaji used to copiously quote from Sri Muchukund's Leelas. And one was about the opulences of the Lord, which we just read in the last slide, that it may become possible to count the dust particle on earth. Imagine if you have to count all the dust particles. It is an impossible task. But even if it becomes possible, somebody can count all the earth particles, all the dust particles on earth, still that will not be equaling the different opulences of the Lord. So suffice to say that the Lord's opulences are infinite. His names are infinite. His abodes are infinite. His actions are infinite. His fame events are episodes are infinite. His devotees are infinite. So how can we measure an infinite entity? Brahma, Saraswati, Biraspati also cannot understand the Supreme. So there is no way anyone can understand. So that was one point. And the second point he mentioned about his lineage that we learnt. And now number 14, getting entangled in material life and relations, the jivas continue having miseries life after life. Whether male or female, O sinless Lord, a soul born as a human on this sacred land is a rare opportunity, making it most conducive for the soul to speedily progress with devotion. Verse 10:51-47. Mamesh kalo jit nishfalo gato rajya shiyonad dhamadasya bhupate मर्त्यात्म बुद्धे सुतदार कोशुबुस वासज्मानस्य duranta chintaya. Muchukund explains the rare boon of human body and its sole purpose, having somehow by grace of God secured without any effort birth, which is so difficult to attain in this land of Bharatvarsh as a human being. Sound of sense which are unreal and remain sunk in household life is like a beast fallen into a well overgrown with grass and is unable to get out of it. Muchukund continues, foolish is the person who misses this opportunity and continues running after satisfying his senses, getting dragged deeper and deeper in the bondage of material world, acting like an animal gets stuck in the well, desiring to eat the weeds sense objects of the well. So in very strong words, the material allurements in the Maic world have been explained, that when the rewards are so rich, if a person takes to the devotional path, the Lord fulfills all his desires. He gets the most infinite eternal bliss. He gets all different opulences. So instead of running after that supreme entity, if somebody is hell-bent on ignoring that and running after the material world, that is considered gross foolish. So that is a strong message from Sri Muchkund's Leelas. And now let's move on to the next slide. I too, O Lord, was proud and haughty of my wealth, strength, and valor, in identifying with my body, only treated my relations as real, and wasting my precious time was striving endlessly for their comforts and happiness. Disregarding you, you then, O Lord, as a time spirit in the form of death, overtake the ignorant soul who keeps busy pursuing, ignoring that his efforts get many hurdles and failures due to the never-ending, never satiating material desires. This body, which was riding and lording over horses, elephants, and chariots after meeting its inevitable death, will end up as worms if buried, as a stool of animals if eaten, as ashes if cremated. Established as a mighty ruler, conquering all, a universal monarch is praised and respected by all, but even he acts like a pet animal, getting infatuated with women. Such monarchs, wanting greater powers in the future, then makes generous donations, acts piously, follows rituals, hoping that such virtuous actions will then get him more happiness and comforts. With his desires and ambition increasing, he loses his peace and is not able to even enjoy the present moment. So the trap of the material world has been very aptly described by Sri Muchkund in his Glories of the Lord. that the body is ephemeral. We don't know when the death will strike and what is the course of the body. Either it will be burnt in the cremation, or it will be buried, or it will be consigned to the water. In either case, the body will turn into mud, the earth. So that is the condition, that is the destination of the body. So what is the important point is to recognize the soul and attain liberation from the transmigration and attain a spiritual body, get God realized, where there is no death, there is no disease, there is no old age, etc. So with that, let's move on to the next slide. Only when his transmigration cycle is nearing an end, then a soul gets blessed with the association of a saint, which then promotes the devotion in the soul. And hence, due to your mercy and grace, I can conclude that my pride and attachment lies shattered without any particular effort on my part, even when many kings retire to forests to try and seek this freedom from material life. O Narayan, I seek nothing but only devotion at your feet, which is the highest blessing one gets. For after blessed with unending devotion to you, O Sri Hari, what else is even left to ask or desire for? Hence, O Lord, I do not seek anything which qualifies under the three gunas, that is sattva, rajas, and tamas, such as dharma, prosperity, or ruling over foes. Despite being afflicted with miseries by karmas for indefinite lifetimes, all my five senses and my mind remain uncontrolled, thirsting with more desires and with no mental peace. I still have somehow reached your gracious lotus feet, and only with your grace driving away my grief and fear, ensuring my protection always. The glorious Lord replied, O great king, your mind has achieved the state of total purity, free from attachment, greed, etc., which is evident by you not getting lured and rejecting material enjoyments when the temptations of boons were being offered to you. This makes you capable of perceiving the highest truth. So when the Lord has given him the chance to ask for a boon, and when he rejects that, this is the words of appreciation from the Lord. So let's see what happens in the next slide. Verse 10:51-60, Lord Krishna explains what really pleases him. Yunjananam bhaktanam pranayamadi akshina vasanam rajan drishyate punaruttitam. Know that it was to show to the world your vigilance in the matter of choosing the right thing and rejecting the false one, that you were tempted with boons. The judgment of these who are exclusively devoted to me can never be perverted by offers of sensuous enjoyments, which are covered in the world, body, and mind, which are coveted in the world, body, and mind, and therefore fit for devotions. O sinless Lord, a man who does not take refuge in your lotus feet, his mind being set on the pleasure. Looks like there is a missing sentence. Yeah. For others who are not my devotees, whatever efforts they may try, like austerities, penance, pranayam, etc., to control their mind, are going to remain unsuccessful, as the desire of the mind can be curtailed only with my devotion. Oh dear Muchukund, with your mind fixed on me, wander all over the globe, and your devotion may stay uninterrupted towards me in the line of a Kshatriya's duty to protect your people. You have hunted and killed animals in the past. Meditate on me, practice austerities to get rid of such sins and their reactions. You will then be born as a Dvij, which is most friendly to all creations, and you will then surely attain me. So he's reminding him of the numerous sins that has been committed by him. And with that, he assures that very soon you will be purified, you will be born as a Brahmin and attain me. So with that, we have come to the end of the text. Now the takeaway, verse SB Srimad Bhagavat, 7th canto, 10th chapter, 9th verse. Vimunchati yada kaman manavo manasi sthitan tarhaiva pundrikaksha bhagavatvaya kalpate. O my Lord, when a human being is able to give up all the material desires in his mind, he becomes eligible to possess wealth and opulence like yours. So what is the clue? Though Sri Krishna is cautioning us from getting trapped by the desires to be opulent, but actually if a person becomes desireless, he gets all the opulences. like he says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, shloka number 22, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupaste tesham nitya bhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Those who do ananya bhakti to me, exclusive devotion to me, I look after them, I protect what they have, and I preserve what they have, and I provide what they lack. So that is a assurance of the Lord. His devotee never falls down. Chipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat chantim nigachati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. That is also what the Lord promises, that my devotee will never fall down. My devotee will never perish, no matter how sinful the devotee is. Even the sinful devotee is accepted by Sri Krishna, as he says in 9:30. अपि चेत्सु दुराचारो भजते माम अनन्य भाग साधुरेव सब मंतव्य सम्यक व्यवसितो हि स. That is why Bhakti Marg is considered such a glorious path where everyone is accepted by the Lord, whether a person with desires, a person without desires, a person who cannot give up his sins. But if he has taken a resolve that I believe in the Lord, I believe in my Guru, and I will try my best to follow them, that resolve is very, very pleasing to the Lord, and he starts mitigating the defects of the devotee, and very soon he attains a very high position. So with that, we have completed the text and the takeaways, and now we can open up for any discussions or any feedback. We are meeting after some time, so we welcome everyone in the session. Radhe Radhe. Yes, Anjan ji, Vijay ji, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Vijay.
The other way, yes. So I think that was a very nice point that after we make a strong resolve that I will dedicate or walk on this path of devotion, then God will take care of many things. So thank you so much for this motivation and today's session with all this wisdom, because we saw this whole series in Sri Krishna serial, but we didn't hear all these wisdoms that both Sri Krishna and Muchukund spoke. We just saw that okay, he got up and the Kalia one just went into ashes, but we didn't hear about all this. So it's so good to read in detail, and every chapter has all these wisdoms, and which really it's very much helpful for us to continue our devotion. And the most important part I also liked was we are wasting too much of time in fulfilling the happiness of our relatives, which the Muchukun said. We are just trying to make them happy by providing them all the needs and all, but still they are not happy. We are also not happy, and we are just wasting time, and we are in that circle of continuous effort, and we are trying to do that, but the prayers that the Muchukan did to Sri Krishna was really nice. I think this is what.
Very, 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 very amazing observations by you. And every time we read Sri Muchkund's story, it is so opulent in knowledge. And even I was just remembering that how much wisdom he has poured into the speeches. He talks about no one can match the Lord's potentials and qualities. Even if someone can count the number of dust particles on earth, still it will not equal anywhere the qualities of the Lord. His qualities are infinite. That was one point. Then he talks about the potency of Maya. Maya is so strong that it is deluding everyone, and we are forgetting our connection with the Lord and running after material pursuits, and as you said, trying to please everyone, including relatives, etc., and forgetting about our eternal relationship with the Lord and what we ought to do. Then he also talked about the lineages of the Suryavans, Ikshvaku, and he talks about the final goal, that we should take the shelter of the lotus feet of Hari and Guru. So that is the process. In our Bhagavad classes for the US and in the Bhagavad Gita classes, we were talking about this point, that how our spiritual journey begins. Many of us were kind of atheists. We did not know anything about the spiritual realm. But one fine day, we came across some devotees or some spiritual personality, and our journey started. Like my journey has started about 30 years back, and I did not have any clue about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran. In fact, most of us have not sufficiently heard about Bhagavat Mahapuran. Many people say, when you talk about Bhagavat Mahapuran, are you talking about Bhagavad Gita? So, Bhagavat Mahapuran is so special. That is how we are learning it. So, what I was saying, when we start our spiritual journey, the first step in the ladder is Shraddha. So there is a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adav Shraddha Tat Sadhu Sanga Tha Bhajan Kriya Tha Artha Nivritti and Ruchi Nishtha Asakti. So there are different steps in the ladder of devotion. So one has to keep riding and moving up in the ladder. So the first step is the Shraddha. So it starts with the faith. Earlier, we did not believe in a spiritual realm, a spiritual entity, God. But then we started believing. So that is the Shraddha, the first elementary part. Once the Shraddha starts growing, then we do Sadhu Sangha. We start associating with devotees. We start going to satsang. We start learning from spiritual discourses, and then we go to the third step, which is called Bhajan Kriya. Then not only we are growing in faith, we are associating with devotees like we are doing now. And the third is we start doing our own practice. So we start controlling our senses. We start watching what we eat, how we speak. We watch our anger, etc. So we are doing austerities. So that is called the Bhajan Kriya. By remembering the Lord, we do the Bhajan Kriya. That is the austerity. And then the fourth step is Anarth Nivritti. So when we do the third process, as we are growing, our defects start falling. So that is called Anarth Nivritti. And what is Anarth? Anarth is the opposite of Earth. Now, Earth, normally we understand Arth Shastra means the knowledge of wealth, the knowledge of economy. That is the material definition. But how the spiritual definition is, Arth means Naam Roop Leela Gun Dham Jan. Only the name, the form, the stories, the parts, the actions, the people, that alone is Arth, the wealth. Everything else is Anarth. So Maharaj's famous line, all those times when we are not thinking of Sri Krishna and our Hari Guru, we are actually indulging in Anarth. So that is why it is recommended to remember Sri Krishna and our Guru all the time. So this Anarth is classified into four. Number one, Sukrit Jat Anarth. Number two, Duskrit Jat Anarth. Number three, Aparadh Janya Anarth. Number four, Bhakti Janya Anarth. So when we are doing bad acts intoxication, sleeping too much, abusive words, that is bad anyway. That is Duskrit Jat Anarth. So this will start falling off. Then Sukrit Jat Anarth, we are into charity and we are into all good acts, sattvic acts. Actually, bhakti does not teach you become a person with all doing good acts. Those good acts should be accompanied by devotion. If devotion is not there, those good acts can only take us to the heaven. That will not give us the highest result. So that is called Sukrit Jat Anarth. So that also diminishes, falls down. Then Aparadh Janya Anarth, when we are transgressing the spiritual entities, the rules. For example, we are having Durbhavana, negative sentiments about our Guru. That is a Nama Parad. That is called Aparadh Janya Anarth. So that also will get controlled. Number 4, to everyone's surprise, even while we are doing bhakti, we can have defects. For example, we are doing bhakti, and one day while listening to the discourses or the bhajan, we started shedding tears. But if we become proud about shedding tears, that is also an anarth. So all these anarth will keep falling as we grow in devotion. And just to sum up this knowledge, and the last part is there are stages of anarth nivritti. First, we talked about the 4 types of anarth nivritti, anarth, and what are the stages of anarth nivritti. Number 1, ek desh vartini. Number 2, bahu desh vartini. Number 3, prayiki. Number 4, purna. Number 5, atyantiki. So first stage is we will feel our anarth has dropped by a little bit. That is ek vartini. Number 2, bahu vartini, we will feel, wow, I have lost a lot of defects. I have given up a lot of defects. Number 3, prayiki, now we feel we have come out of this anarth. Very little anarth is left now. I'm working on that. And when we reach purna state, it is like we don't feel we are doing any anarth, but we are not God realized. So God realized is the 5th stage, which is atyantiki, when the maya is eliminated by God's grace. So I thought this knowledge which I shared with others, I'll share with you all also. Radhe Radhe. Now we can conclude. If anybody wants to say something, please go ahead.
We have 1 minute. Anyone? Smita?
थोड़ा आपका आवाज नहीं आ रहा है.
Radha Bhaiya. We have 1 minute. So any last
Yeah.
discussion points?
Yeah,
Smita
anyone just to say 20 seconds. If anybody wishes to contribute, please.
Bhaiya,
If
can
not,
conclude the
let
session.
us conclude. बोलिए श्रीमद सदगुरु सरकार की जय.
जय.
श्रीमद युगल सरकार की जय. जय जय श्री राधे. जय जय श्री राधे. जय जय श्री राधे. So, just to, Radhe Radhe, just to say we have